So how do you become someone who has vodka in her soda cup while leading Bible study? Let me tell you how I got there. I started drinking in high school, like many people do, and by the end of high school, I realized that my relationship with alcohol, something was off with it. I didn't feel like it was normal, and I promised myself that I was going to quit drinking by the time I went to college. So began over 20 years of promising myself that I was going to quit drinking. In college, I was a typical partier, but I often drank to incapacitation. I fell asleep at bars. I would black out. Not everyone blacks out, but I blacked out. I had a reputation for just falling asleep because I would drink so much. Like my friends would make fun of me for that. But pretty much everyone saw it as like a silly thing that Erica did. At that time, I really only drank on the weekends, and it seemed fairly normal, at least for like Big Ten college school normal. Didn't ruin my life, didn't disrupt my studies. I graduated and I went to Washington, D.C. and started working as a young professional. D.C. is the #1 drinking town in the entire country. It is all about the happy hours and networking. So there was a chance to be at a bar drinking every single night. I didn't drink every night, but I drank a lot. I bought into the charm of what alcohol was supposed to be for a young professional like me. My very first night in DC, I remember I went to the grocery store. I didn't know anybody yet. I went to the grocery store and I bought a 6-pack of beer and I just drank it alone, didn't eat dinner, and went to bed. I think that was really the first time that I started to use alcohol to get rid of my appetite. And as someone who had struggled with eating disorders for many years, it all became pretty complicated and toxic very quickly. Now, I never drank during the day or anything like that. But because I did have a little bit of social anxiety and I was drinking at every single happy hour, I soon began to rely on alcohol for almost any social interaction. I felt like, oh, I can't do this unless I'm drinking. I had moved on past the immature phase of drinking so much that I couldn't, stay conscious, but I was still drinking too much, and I was the kind of person where maybe everyone else was stopping and I was still having more. It got to the point that on a random Tuesday night, I would go sneak my roommate's liquor and drink it really fast and then have to go the next day to replace her liquor. Nights when everyone else would chill, I would start to feel this major anxiety, I needed to drink to relax, and if I couldn't have it, it felt very almost panicky and depressing. And on nights like that, I would always have too much and wake up, of course, with regrets in the morning, feeling like garbage, telling myself I'm not going to do this anymore. It was probably in my mid to late 20s when I was I should go to an AA meeting. This is getting ridiculous. I went to one AA meeting and it was fine, but I was so nervous and I just felt totally out of place, so I never went back. When I started dating my husband, we would drink all the time. This is what else are we gonna do? We're just we go out, we drink. We go out to eat, we drink. Drinking was a part of dating. That's all you did. And drinking was a part of what we did with friends. But there would be nights at home when he would not want to drink, but I did. And so I would go get my own wine or whatever and drink the whole bottle and just numb out and just try to get out of the headspace I was in. For whatever reason, I always felt anxious and depressed. And then soon after that, it became, oh, there's a liquor store down the road from my office. I can just go in and get one of those little bottles of vodka, put it in my purse, and then, if I'm feeling stressed out, I'll just drink it. And drinking is so romanticized in DC. If you're gonna see someone drinking at lunch, it's gonna be in DC. It's very normal to have wine or martinis, or at least I felt like it was. And so I was constantly being yeah, this is fine. I'm just a grown up, But my husband and I would get in really big fights because we would both be drinking, and I would maybe go to family gatherings and have too much there and feel like I couldn't stop and feel like I couldn't function unless I had more. And I would get super high anxiety if I felt like I couldn't have any. There were certainly times when I drove when I shouldn't have drove. There's plenty of incidents I don't have time to mention here that I was completely embarrassed and ashamed and still carry that to this day. And I've always been active in my church, Bible study, and mission trips all throughout this. So no one ever called me out really on having a problem. I would even ask people or try to talk to people about it, and everyone would say, no, you're fine. You're totally normal. But they didn't know what I was doing, behind closed doors or, even sneaking. Nobody knew the full extent, even my husband. So I have this clear memory one time of my girls' Bible study coming over, and me, I just had that sky high anxiety where I was I can't do this. And so I put vodka in my cup and I was sitting there and we're reading the Bible, and I knew, I was this is the antithesis of what I should be doing. You cannot be drunk on wine and be drunk on the Holy Spirit. And that line has echoed with me because it's true. There was no growth in my relationship with God. I was producing no spiritual fruit. I couldn't get hardly anywhere when I was drinking. It's I would grow and then the alcohol would kill it. So then I became a mom and I was still drinking. And the honest truth is that after I had my first baby, I had a really hard time breastfeeding, but really one of the main reasons I wanted to quit breastfeeding right away was because I felt like I couldn't drink, because you can't drink and then breastfeed really, or at least drink a lot. And so I very quickly found plenty of excuses to quit breastfeeding so I could go back to drinking. I didn't personally have a lot of bad experiences with mommy wine culture, but the acceptance of drinking and the pushing of drinking, like, to moms, like, oh, you deserve it, like, totally, you need to de-stress, like, have a glass of wine, go out. And I would tell myself that. I would be like, it's totally fine. There are people that drink every day. And I would try to find examples of people that drink every day and that were totally fine. But slowly but surely, I started Googling things about, could I be an alcoholic? Or if I would meet someone that said they were sober, I would be completely fascinated with them. It was so foreign to me. I thought it was completely impossible that I would ever quit drinking, but I did start dabbling and get sober curious. It took a couple years before I actually even tried taking a break. Eventually, I found Annie Grace and This Naked Mind, and it was the beginning of the end of this alcohol demon in my life. Annie Grace is so great because she is not pressuring, and it's all about being curious and asking questions about yourself. So I participated in her program, and then I found a bunch of sobriety memoirs, which I loved and were super helpful. And I attempted to go 30 days a few times. I even went 6 months one time, and then I backtracked. But I continued to stay in the community. I joined the Luckiest Club, which is Laura McCowan's support group, and that was amazing. It was a huge turning point. It was the first time I was actually in community with other people, and I could think to myself every single day, there are all these hundreds of other people in this group, TLC, that are choosing not to drink today too. Like, I am not alone. There are so many people that are doing this. So my goal is to go 90 days because someone told me, like, 90 days is, like, 30 days you're just white knuckling it, but 90 days you are really get over some kind of a mental hump. And so I held on for 90 days. That was like it. That's all I had to do, right? But then once those 90 days were up, I was like, I can't go back now. And so I said, oh, it seems like a year. Wouldn't that be so cool to say, I went a year without drinking? Like, I was imagining my social media posts and all of that. Obviously, it wasn't just about that, but I thought, okay, I am 6 months now, right? Well, once you're at 6 months, you're just like, oh my gosh, I've got to keep going. And so clearly I did keep going. I hit that year, felt a little weird. I was kind of like, what now? Like, that was my goal, right? But I will have to say, like, the next 2 years since then have gone by so quickly. So I'm over 3 years now. And the reality is I live a life now that I never thought I could because I barely ever considered alcohol. I don't think about it. It's not on my mind. I don't struggle with it. And back when I was drinking, it was on my mind every day. It took up so much mental space. And I also felt so out of control. Like, I couldn't stop, and like it could someday ruin my life. Even though nothing rock bottom actually happened, the fact that it could scared me to death. Now I'm happy to say, like, here I am. I love supporting other people and telling them you can do it because I didn't think I could do it, and I did do it. The connection with God is totally clear now, and I have been able to have a thriving faith life and really grow in that area. I was able to write my second book, working on my third book, which is going to be related to the sobriety issue. And I've heard from a lot of women, like, that I've inspired them to stop, and that really makes it all worth it. So that's my story in a little bit of a nutshell.